most of our learning should have the base of English immediately. And Yeshua for Surfside. And also your first name of Sorry. Okay, we're going to start a Dalet on the base. It's really in the middle of the page. It starts with a Tana Rabbanan. The first word on the line is Alpi, Ayin, Pei, Alpi Nashim, Alpi Kutim. Lines in the Gemara are not always the same. Anyway, Tana Rabbanan. Tana in the Braisa. Nefatchen Pekuach Nefesh Shabbos. We strive, or we engage in saving a life on Shabbos. And anyone that works quickly is praised. You don't have to go ask a Rav. You don't have to go ask Bezdin. Can we do this? Well, how does this work? A child falls into the sea, chas v'shalom. You spread out a net and you bring them up. So someone that works quickly is praiseworthy, and you don't have to take permission from Bezdin. What is that coming to add? It says, Afagav the Katzayat Kivri. Even though he's going to be pulling up fish together with the child, so he's catching fish on Shabbos as a regular one of the 39 malachas. But nevertheless, he doesn't have to ask and discuss. I know that I'd be allowed to do this if it was just a child, but now that there's fish in it, maybe it's a shaila. Don't even bother asking. There's no shailas. Chas v'shalom, a child falls into a pit. So Iker Chulya Malayu. Iker Chulya Sabar is the rim around the bar. Iker Chulya means you remove the edge of the bar, the edge of the pit, to allow like an extra step so he can get out easier. Anyone that acts quickly is praiseworthy, doesn't have to take permission from Bezdin. Now the truth is, you just made a ladder or a step for the well or for the pit. So this is not just a one-time thing. While he's doing this, he made himself a ladder or a step to go down into the well. Let's say maybe this would be a shaila. No, there's no shailas here. You just do what you need to do to get him out, even if there's going to be some benefit that's going to come from it. Roshanin Dallas Bifnei Atinik sees that the door is closed in front of a child, like a child is locked in a room. This could be very traumatic. So Shaivra Umaitziu, you break down the door, you take him out. Bazar is raising Meshubach, and anyone that works quick is praiseworthy. You don't have to take permission from Bezdin. Even though he's intending, while he's breaking the door, he's breaking it in a way that he's going to have a few boards that he's going to be able to use for something else. Maybe it means firewood, maybe it means just boards for his sukkah. I don't know. So even though there's other things happening here while he's attempting to save the child, there's still no shaila. Okay. Mechaven umafsikin mifnei adleika. It's allowed to put out a fire if the home has elderly or children. You can put out the fire. Otherwise, the fire should not be put out on Shabbos if people can exit the house and there's no problem. But if there's children or elderly, then then you're allowed to put out the fire. So you're also allowed to be mafsik. Mafsik means that you put a barrier where the fire is to the next room or something. And what is the barrier? Metal barrels, or barrels, metal kalim, or barrels of water. And when the fire would get to it, it would get hot, it would burst, and it would put out the fire. So, Anyone that works quickly is praiseworthy, and you don't need to take permission from Besdin. This means, even though while he's doing this, he's preparing coals for his barbecue later that evening. He's going to have to cook also. So while he's at it, I know there's a fire burning. Could be dangerous, but he's at the same time, he's going to have some fuel for later on. All of these cases that we said are actually necessary. In other words, if I would have said one, I wouldn't have necessarily known the other ones. Why? Yashmin and Yam, if it would have only told me the first case, that a child, Chas v'shalom, fell into a sea. Over there, you have to act quickly. Because in the interim, could get washed away. You can't delay that. You wait 1 second later, the tide, the things. Aval bar the kayasiv malay. But if he falls into a pit, well, it's not going anywhere. Maybe I could delay it till after the Shabbos. So Tzrichet has to tell me that case. Yasmin and bar, if it would tell me a pit, Shim the kamivas. He's very scared. Aval ninal adelas. But if the door is locked, after the Yasa Bahagisa, Shabbos Leibam Gusi. Maybe he's being pacified on the other side with nuts. He found something to play with. He's not scared. He's not in the dungeon. He's on the other side of the probably a bathroom door. Everybody gets stuck. He's can't get out. So he's over there. He's making a mess in the whatever. It's not a problem. So Trichet has to tell me that no, you have to break down that door as well. You can put out a fire and you can put something in between the fire. Yeah, Tais was asked that if you can put out the fire, of course you can put something in between the fire. So it seems like that would be unnecessary to state. Tais says that we're talking about that you're bringing something through Rosh Hashanah. Maybe you could just put it out, but to do these extra things, how do you know the fire is going to go there? In the end, maybe these things won't be necessary. You would have ended up bringing it without any reason. So there's a chiddush in these other cases. Okay. Lamali, why does he have to say this? That you can put out the fire. Of course, you can put out a fire. It says even if you're putting out the fire, you're putting the barrier in between you and another courtyard that not necessarily wouldn't be in the same danger that the first courtyard is in, the first house is in. In other words, the fire's in one courtyard. The people are in another courtyard. And those people are ill or children. And so you're allowed to put out the fire because of another courtyard, not even if they're not in this courtyard. When it comes to matters of life and death, you don't follow the majority. What's the case? Ruby Yisrael Ninu. You say that there's 9 Jews and there's one non-Jew, one Kuti. Over here, of course, the Kuti is not just a regular non-Jew. Next door neighbor, it's referring to an idolater. So there's 9 Jews and there's one idolater. So we don't follow the majority. What do you mean you don't follow the majority? Of course you follow. Of course this majority is the Jewish people. Of course you put out the fire or whatever you do, you whatever it takes. Ella, supposed to say inami, probably. palga. Let's say it's half and half. Half Jews, half non-Jews. So Sabik and Pashas Lahakal. 50-50 is a regular doubt. So we have to be more lenient when it comes to the Torah laws and violate Shabbos in order to save a life. Here's our case. 9 non-Jews and 1 Jew. So we save we save everyone. Whatever it's a rubble or a fire. The says on Ami Pshita. We have a rule that if I have stationary items, like 9 stores, and someone went into one of the stores and bought meat, and he doesn't know which store he went into, so we say that there's a 50-50 chance on every store, and we don't add up those 50-50 chances. See, each store is 50-50. So it becomes 50-50 as a regular suffix, a regular doubt. So here also, I have like these apartments, and there's 10 apartments. 9 of them are non-Jewish, and there's 1 Jew. And so each one is kavua. So the Jewish apartment there, the 1 Jew that's there, is 50% that it's him that's under the rubble or that's in the fire. So what are you telling me that you don't follow the majority? And we're gonna save him? It's not because of majority or not following the majority. It's because of kavua. Here's the solution. How to figure this out? We're talking about that everyone went. No, I can't say everyone. That the Jewish person went to another courtyard, or someone went to another courtyard, another building, let's say, and in the next building there was a fire or a collapse. Now I have another rule. I don't say kol kavua k'mechtzal neftzadami only if it's in its stationary location. But if it went somewhere else, I say kol the parish, anything that left the group, I say it's from the majority. If I go in front of the stores and I find a piece of meat on the floor, and there's 9 non-kosher stores and 1 kosher store, I say that it's not kosher. If there's 9 kosher stores and 1 non-kosher, I'll say that it's kosher. Then I do follow the majority because it's not in the store. It came out of the store, and that's where my doubt began. My doubt began not in its stationary location. I find it on the floor outside the stores. Yeah. Because every anything that has a set location, established, kavua, it's established, permanent. So I don't say that, I don't mix it into a pile. I don't mix all of those stores into one pile and say that it's 50-50. And say that it's the majority are kosher and non-kosher. Each one is so permanent that it takes on a 50-50 option.
If I'm in a city, I found a restaurant. Right. One of them is Jewish, one is kosher.
Yeah.
And I walk into any the other one. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Every restaurant that you're in could be that this is the kosher one. Yeah. Yeah. In other words, I don't use the statistics.
Yeah.
I don't use statistics when it comes to things that are established. Everything is 50-50. I mean, that's it. Yeah, don't do this with the lottery. Yeah, and the other way, it's just because it says gefilte fish and matzo ball soup does not mean it's kosher.
Just Jewish style.
That's right.
It's the shrimp cocktail.
Right. Imitation shrimp. Okay. So we're talking about that someone went to another courtyard, and in the next courtyard or in the next building there was a collapse or a fire. So Ma'adatim called the parish miru b'parish. I could have thought that I should follow the majority and say that the person that went to the other courtyard was probably not Jewish because he left the majority. I don't say that. Here, there's 9 non-Jews and 1 Jew. One of them leaves the building that they live in, goes to the next building across the street. There's a collapse. So who left the building? Probably one of the non-Jews, because there's 9. That's the odds. So in the normal case, I would say that I should follow the majority. And the person that's there is not Jewish. And we shouldn't violate the Shabbos to say that we're talking about he's an idolater. So we say that we don't say that. We don't follow the majority. The Gemara says, Aini, is that really so? We have a statement in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. There's 9 non-Jews and 1 Jew in that courtyard, and there's a collapse. Then you try to save them. But if it's in another courtyard, you don't try to save them. It's exactly against what we just said. We just said that you don't follow the majority, even if they go to another courtyard. Now we're saying that you do follow the majority. Versus like Kasha. Other parish Kulu, other parish Miksasayu. Depends. If they all went to the other courtyard, then they're all there, even though they left. So then we say that it's the majority. We say that there's a newest chazik, there's a new kavua, because they all went to the other place, even though that's not their original location. However, if only some of them went, then I would have to follow the majority and say that the people that are in this other place are not Jewish. The Shmuel actually say that you follow the majority in such a case. That you don't follow the majority in certain cases. It says Vatanan, but we have a Mishnah. If there's a child that you just find them on the road, in the train station, just the child there in a basket. Note, says someone take me. So Imrayv Kutim, if the majority of that location is not Jewish, then we say he's a Kuti, he's a non-Jewish child. Imrayv Yisrael, if the majority are Jewish, then we say Yisrael. We say he is Jewish. Mechza Mechza, if it's half and half, so then he's Yisrael. We consider him Jewish. Rav says, based on this Mishnah, Leishanu Allah Yesei. That's talking about to give him support, to keep him alive. But to say that he can go and get married, for that he's going to need a little bit more research, a DNA test. Not going to tell us much. But then like, for that, it's not going to be good enough until we have like witnesses that would tell us. Shmuel Amar.
Oh, so what they do that? It's not going to find anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knew what he was converted.
Yeah, they would convert him.
They would convert him.
Yeah, if he's raised by, taken into a Jewish home. Convert.
Even though he might be really Jewish.
Yeah. Then they have complications. Who can marry? I want him to marry his sister or his relative.
I hope I don't marry my sister.
Yeah, I can imagine cases nobody will really know. If the father had some affair somewhere, the mother doesn't want to keep the child. She's, I don't know what, ashamed of this situation. She leaves him in the train station. And no one knows anything. It could be complicated. Okay, I see a novel coming. Okay. Today we don't say that. Say, I see a movie thing. Okay, Shmuel Amar Lefakech Alav Esagal. Shmuel says that what are we talking about? Mechzal mechza. If it's half in the town, it's Jewish. Half is not Jewish. So we say that we save him. If let's say this child is under rubble, so on Shabbos you save him. Now for sure, only if it's majority Jewish would you save him. Half and half, you won't save him. That's what it appears Shmuel is saying here. Now, what are you telling me that Shmuel says that you don't follow the majority when it comes to life and death? Here you see that Shmuel says you do follow the majority. And if it's half and half, it's not the majority, so you don't save him. The Gemara says, no, you got it wrong. That's not what Shmuel said. Shmuel said, Ki itmar the Shmuel. What was Shmuel talking about? Aresha itmar. Exactly the other case. It says, Imreif kutim, kuti. If the majority is not Jewish, then we say he's not Jewish. Amar Shmuel says, but that's not regarding saving his life. Exactly the opposite. Regarding saving his life, even if the majority is not Jewish, this child's life we save. Because you never know, it could be that he is Jewish. The Gemara says, Imreif kuti, l'may halchasa. What do we mean to say that if the majority is not Jewish, we consider the child not Jewish? What are you referring to? That you can feed the child non-kosher food. Usually, you're not supposed to. Child doesn't have to keep the mitzvahs, but you're not allowed to feed him trade. Here, you're allowed to feed him non-kosher. Imrayv Yisrael. That sounds better than me. If the majority is Jewish, then we consider him Jewish. But my health. So, what is that referring to? Yeah. This is referring to lahachsalei avedasei. If he loses an object, you find an object that belongs to him, you return it. You see, if a non-Jew loses something, the laws of lost objects don't apply to the non-Jew. You don't return it to him, unless it's Kiddush Hashem or something like that. But otherwise, you don't have to return it. No, actually, you're not supposed to return it. If it would be an idolater, it depends how we view the non-Jews today. I think the accepted view is that a non-Jew today is not considered an idolater. Like the olden days, we consider them as if they're like a ger taisha, like not Jewish, but they try to keep them, anything we can do for their benefit. Unless it would be an idolater or something else. But not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's complicated. It's complicated. I don't know I'm still studying Judaism. It's going to take me several lifetimes to figure out what's the religion. But it's not. I know that it's not so simple. Okay. Okay. So, returning a lost object. If the majority is Jewish, he's considered Jewish. Return its lost object. It's lost object. It has to be destroyed. Yeah. Yeah. You throw it into the sea where it'll get corroded. You burn it if it's wood. Mechzal, it's like chametz. Mechzal, Yisrael. If it's half and half, then we consider him a Jew. L'may hilchasa. What is this referring to? Reish Lakish l'nezaken. It's a very interesting halacha. If an ox of a non-Jew gores the ox of a Jew, he has to pay full price. If an ox of a Jew gores an ox of another Jew, he has to pay half price because it's a tame ox. And unless it happens 3 times, you have to pay half price. If an ox of a Jew was the ox of a non-Jew, does he have to pay it all, or does it still have the price? He's exempt. He doesn't have to pay. It's not politically correct.
I mean, I would like you gotta, if you sometimes you killed your odds, like, give me some payment, and the next day, you still don't ask. Oh, well, that's for you.
Yeah,
That's kind of,
it's pretty lousy.
I mean, I don't know how you get away with it on the side.
You see, we're not talking about a guy going over to someone else and hitting him. Right?
No, I know, it's, I mean,
We're talking about an animal. Sort of like, let's say, the dog bit.
no, but forcing him to pay you for.
Oh, forcing,
your
yeah.
damage,
The unfairness there.
not
right.
paying him for
Right.
the damage that he caused. I mean,
I could see it either way, but just making it not fair is the problem.
Yeah.
Right. The Gemara Baba Kama says that these two ministers or soldiers, they showed up and they wanted to study Torah, and they taught them the Torah, except for this halacha. Yeah. And the commentators ask, why didn't they just tell them something? Why didn't they just make up a different halacha?
Or just simply do what they did.
Yeah, adjust it to make it fit, to make it politically correct. And they say that you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to change one. Just to say, you have to. Torah can never be corrupted. This is the Torah. It's a good question. See, those were correct translations. They adjusted them so that no one should make different mistakes. So they said Elikim, to protect themselves, but they weren't a lot. There wasn't any lies. Wasn't the corruption? They said instead of in the beginning, Hashem created. They said Hashem created in the beginning.
It was translated.
It was translated to make it
right.
Yeah.
So then you have freedom to use words in different language. I would assume a new King James version.
Okay. Right. Yeah, every translation has to do. Translation is a commentary. So, hey Chidami, what are we talking about over here? We say that half and half is considered Jewish. Regarding damages, if we say that our ox scored his ox, so he says, pay me. So it's half and half. We don't know if he's Jewish. It says, Naisiraya Vinishko. Now, when it comes to money, if you want to extract money from someone, you need to have proof that it's owed to you. There is no proof here. It's a 50-50 chance. I say, look, bring proof that you're Jewish and we'll pay you. Doesn't have proof yet. It's going to be exempt. So we'll say it's the opposite. His ox scored a Jewish person's ox. So Palgi Yavle, he has to pay half. And Idach Palga, namely Asirai, the Lav Yisrael and Ashkal, he tells them, prove it to me that I'm not Jewish. Prove to me that I'm not Jewish, and I'll pay you the rest. Meanwhile, you don't know, so you can't take money from me just because you don't know. I think maybe you owe me money. Can you pay me? Okay. He's on a different. Okay. What does the Mishnah say? Oh, that's a Mishnah Baba Kama. Yeah. Yeah. The explanation would have has to be that the actual payment of an animal causes damage. That I only know from the Torah that what the payments are. And the fact is, I'm getting myself. The fact is that it could go either way. Should the owner have to pay for his animal's damages or not? It could go either way. The Torah tells me how to deal with that. I mean, there's probably something in American also. Okay. Misha nafal alav mapayla schulu. In American law, just like in Torah law, there must be this conflict between is the obligation to pay because it's something that you own, or is it obligation to pay because of negligence? In other words, if someone does something that has no negligence, he was mowing the lawn, and the rock shoots out from under the lawnmower and breaks someone's car window parked on the side. Everything he did was without negligence. There was nothing that was negligent. Should he have to pay? Well, it was his lawnmower. He was pushing it, but he did everything correct. So in the Torah, that's what the laws of the Torah are all about. Figuring out when there's payments. Okay. Does it matter if they pay for that? That wouldn't matter. That wouldn't matter in Torah law either. It wouldn't matter. It's only with the ox. Yeah. Because this has to do with here is an ox that was probably being watched properly, no negligence, and it ran out in a gourd, something, an unexpected things that an ox never does, not never does, but ordinarily doesn't do. So this was a tame ox. And we're going to make him pay. Well, for a regular person, for a Jewish person, he has to pay half. A non-Jewish person, he doesn't have to pay. There was no negligence. The problem is the other way, that we make him pay full price. If it's a non-Jew that calls a Jew, that's what it's saying. Okay. If there's a collapse, it says if there's a doubt if he's there, if the doubt if he's alive, it's a doubt, a whole bunch of doubts, the Mishnah said. Nevertheless, you always uncover it. My kammer, what's this referring to? Laimi by not only kammer, not only this is what it's saying. Laimi by safek kusham safek inisham, not only if there's a question if anyone's in there, the chayhu, if he is there, we assume that he's alive, the mefaken that will uncover it. But even if the doubt is, we don't know if he's there. And even if there's a doubt if he's alive, we still uncover it on Shabbos. We remove the rubble. But not only if we don't know if he's there, we don't know if he's alive, and we don't know if it's a Jew, even if he's there, we still uncover it on Shabbos. And if you find that he's alive, you continue. In other words, you're uncovering the rubble, and you see that the person's alive, so you get him out. If you see that he's dead, then you just leave it.
Hey, are you Jewish? No, I'm not Jewish.
No. If he's not Jewish, then you would tell him. Well, if there wasn't an the practical halacha would be you would continue taking him out. Theoretical halacha would be that you would say, "I'll be back in a half hour when it's nightfall."
She's thinking too much.
Okay. So Matzur Chai, if they find he's alive, sheet of course you uncover it. So it's like Tzricha. What we're talking about here is the Afilu Chai Shah. Even if we don't think he's going to survive, we still take him out. Why? Because temporary life is also considered life. I mean, all life is temporary. So, but we don't view life as temporary. We view it as, so even if it's just for a few minutes, we still remove all the rebels that he should survive for those minutes. If he passes away, if he's dead, then you just leave it. Hanami Pshita, that is obvious. You don't have to, this is something that's not necessary to do on Shabbos. You can do this tomorrow. Of course you leave it. You don't have to violate Shabbos to take the corpse out from under the rubble. So it's like Tzricha Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish. It's a Chiddush. Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish teaches us something. The Tanya was started in a brayse saying, Matzilin asameis b'nei adleika. There's a corpse inside a house that's on fire. You don't go in to take the corpse out. Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish shamati shematzilin asameis b'nei adleika. Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish says, no, you do. You do take the corpse on Shabbos, we're talking about. So what's the reason? Let's see. So we're saying, Afilu Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish, like Kamer al Amitech Shadam Baal al Meisai, like Sharis Asalafabuye. Why do we say that? That you can take the corpse out of the house that's on fire on Shabbos. So no, we know who it is. We know. I mean, it was the person died already before. It happened to be there was a fire in the morgue. Do you go in and save the corpses? So we say, Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish says yes. Why? Because a person may be baffled, may be so confused over the situation that the deceased is there, he may end up going and putting out the fire, which is worse than taking someone out from there and bringing him into the kohen. So, Aval Hacha, but over here, if we say that you can't uncover the rubble, what's he going to do that's worse than that? By the fire, he may put out the fire. Over here, what's he going to do? So we don't go and uncover the rubble if there's a corpse underneath. Okay. The rabbi said, until we are the examine. It says, Ad Chaytmai. Yeah, just to go back to that controversial discussion. It's talking about, when we say that, it's talking about idolater. It's talking about people that if we would be able to, we would not allow them to live in the land of Israel. They're really people that don't belong there.
So it's only in the land of Israel and the
Right.
Jewish territory. Oh, I see. I guess. So the opposite would be the only place where that we could do that, like sayings and else.
Yeah. So the rule is, although the theoretical rule is that when it comes to this, that you would only save a Jew's life on Shabbos. The practical law is not like that. The practical law is that you save every life on Shabbos. Now, and the reason for that is because it comes back to the theoretical law that they won't allow us to do that, to say, they won't allow Hatzalah to exist. They say, 1 second, give me his passport, they won't exist. So the practical law is that everyone gets saved.
Wait, when it's not a Jewish stuff? What does this bother?
But the positive side of that is the other way. If the hospitals would say, is he Jewish? We don't want him here. They're not allowed to do that either. They have to save Jewish people also, even if it's some, I don't know, the Christian, some hospital, they have to. So they also have the practical side that the government won't allow them to exist unless they take in even people that Muslims and Jews and whatever gypsies, whatever, even without insurance. They have to. You always have to choose it.
Initially stabilized, then
Probably.
Well, it's kind of complementary.
Right. Ultimately.
It's almost the language of the United States.
Right. Yeah, I would like to see. I haven't seen, but I would like to see like a book of American law based on like rooted in Torah law. So it trace like a bunch of things back to the Torah. That would be very interesting. No, I haven't seen. But okay. Tanur Rabbanan, Adhechanu Baidik. Where do you check a person if he's alive? He's under the rubble. It says Adchaitma, you check until the nose. We're not talking about probably the way to check would be a thermometer. If he has temperature and he has body's functioning. But they check the nose. Okay. Yeshem Rad Libai. Some say you check until the heart. Very important halacha. They're on the top of the rubble. They find the people on the top are dead. This does not mean the people underneath are dead. There was a story of the people on the top were dead, the people underneath were alive. You have a story. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The Gemara says, let's say that these Tanaim that discuss until where you check to see if a person's alive is the same as another Machlekes Tanaim, which goes like this. The Tanya was taught in the Vraysa, Mehechana Vlad Neitzer. Where is the child formed from? This is this joke. Where do people grow from? Their feet are from the head. The guy said, well, I saw the Russian army. They were all lined up. All the feet were the same, and all the heads were different. It must mean they grew from the head. Okay. So, where are people formed from? So, they have this question until people dye the hair, they don't know where the hair grows from. Does it grow from the tip of the hair or does it grow from the root? When you dye the hair, you can see right away, right? That it grows, it grows from the roots. Okay. Where's the child formed from? It says Mireishay, from the head. Shenema Mimei Imi Ata Goizi. From my mother's womb, you pulled me out. There's another pasuk in Yirmiyah. He's pulled you out by your hair. Pull out your hair, and throw it away. So we're looking at the hair as where he was formed from, or from the head. Abashal says Mitabura is formed from the navel, from his belly button. And then it sends out its roots to the extremes. Okay. The Gemara says no, it's not a machlekes. In other words, how a person's formed is not dependent on how you check if he's alive. Even according to Abishal, that's only talking about how he was formed, that he's formed from the center. The kol midim mitzar, everything is formed from the center. It's like the snowball. But when it comes to saving a life, Abishal would agree that the life is found in the nostrils. He has the breath of life in his nostrils. This discussion about when do you check, that's because you're examining, you're uncovering the person. You started from his feet. You have to check all the way to the navel. Keep uncovering more until you get to it, or until his nose. But if you're starting from the head, given the you only have to get to the nose. That would be enough. Smachlik is about if the heart stops, if he's still alive, still breathing. Yeah.
If the heart stops,
Then the breath. And there's no breath.
but if you're not breathing, heart beats.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, when it was very recent, like a route that fell in his chest, which prevented him from breathing. He was still alive, like, whatever, 2-3 minutes later. He
Right.
was still alive, but it was just preventing him.
So how would you know? They would go, they don't feel a heartbeat. They go to the nose, there's no breath.
Well, that was the limits of them not letting those things. So now, I mean, this is what you do before for anything.
Right. So I think temperature would be the big deal. They went down counting commandment. Kvar haya Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah halchem b'derech. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. This is a story. They're going on the road. The Levi Hasadar. This could be Levi Hasadar. Sounds like Rashi says he doesn't know who this is. The Aruch says that it's supposed to be a Sarah, and apparently he would make the clothing. Maybe clothing like for the Kohanim. Rabbi Shmuel ben Ishel, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah halchan achreim. Levi Hasadar and Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. You don't have them often. They're walking behind them. Nishna Shalos b'fneim. Minayin lepekoach nefesh adeiches Shabbos. How do you know that saving a life pushes off Shabbos? You're going to get a bunch of answers here. First answer. Nena Rabbi Shmuel v'amar machter simatzei ganav. Talking about if a thief is tunneling into a house. So the rule is that the person in the house is allowed to kill the thief. So, you don't know if he's coming to steal or if he's coming to kill. You're allowed to kill him. And killing is really bad. And you're allowed to go and kill the person. Oh, did I surprise you? It causes that the Shekhinah leaves the Jewish people. And nevertheless, you're allowed to go to save your own life. You're allowed to kill this person, even though you don't know if he's going to murder. I mean, he's just tunneling into the house. If you're allowed to kill, for sure you can violate Shabbos to save a life. Right? Then Rabbi Kiva has another shot. Person is deserving of death. You take him off the altar to bring him to death. From the side of the altar, but not from on top of the altar. If he's in the middle of the service, you don't take him off. Now, we're not done with the proof. Rabbi Bar Bachana says the name of Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Kiva can't be quoting this. This is like our explaining what Rabbi Kiva means. That's only that you leave him there. You don't take him off if he's deserving of death. But let's say the Kohen that's on top of the altar knows testimony about someone, and he could actually save someone's life if they would get him over there to the court right away. To testify, you take him off the altar. We don't know if his testimony is going to be effective. Service of the temple pushes off Shabbos. But to save a life, you interrupt the service, even for potential. So kal v'chem lepikoch nefesh, shadeichas Shabbos, for sure that saving a life pushes off Shabbos. Nenu Rabbi Elazar Amar, Mami l'shiach me masayim v'arba mishmeinei v'arm shabadam. When it comes to a circumcision, that's only fixing one of a person's 248 limbs. Ideichas Shabbos, and that's performed on Shabbos. Kal v'chem l'chol gufei shadeichas Shabbos, for sure the whole body save the life pushes off Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Imer as Rabbi Tishmeiru. Rabbi Yehuda says, should guard my Shabbos. Yachal akol, maybe that means always. Talmud Leimar ach says, but you should guard my Shabbos. What does but mean? However, but that means chalak. That means it's an exclusion that not always do you keep Shabbos. Sometimes you're supposed to violate it to save a life. Rabbi Nisim ben Yosef Emer ki kodesh ilachem, because it is holy for you. It is given over into your hands. You're not giving it over into its hands. That means Shabbos is serving you. But if it comes to life and death, then you break the Shabbos. Reb Shimon ben Manasseh Emer v'Shamar b'nei Yisrael says Shabbos. The Jewish people should guard the Shabbos. The Torah says, "Chalal of Shabbos achas k'dei sheyishmer Shabbos harbi." Violate one Shabbos so that you should be able to have many more Shabbosim afterwards. Rabbi Shmuel says, if I was taking that stroll, that walk, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, I would have commented like this. Havamina didi adif miditu. I have a better shot. It says, "V'chai behem v'leish yamaspen." It doesn't tell you should live by the mitzvahs and not die by them. Amar Rava, l'kulu es l'pircha bar min Shmuel. I can ask questions on all the other interpretations, but not from the one that Shmuel said. The Leslie Pircha, there's no questions on that. That's 100%. Why? The Rabbi Shmuel, when it came to Rabbi Shmuel, that he said about the tunneling in, that you can kill him, Kidurava, Dilma Kidurava, Damrav, my time with the Machteres. Why are you allowed to kill the person that's tunneling into the house? He's stealing. Chazak, the Mamaratzmal. Person is going to try to stand up to defend his property. But I made the yada the koilape. He knows that the person's going to defend his property. And he says, if the guy's going to try to defend his property, I'll have to kill him. That means that he becomes a murderer. So we're considering this definite murder. We're considering a definite death. We're asking, how do you know that for a doubt you're allowed to violate Shabbos? Rabbi Kiva Nami Dilma Kedabaya. According to Rabbi Kiva also, we'll say maybe like Abaya says. When do we violate Shabbat? Or when do we take him off the altar? That's when to testify, because they sent Torah sages there to discuss with him if he has actually something to say. That means it's only definite that it's going to real testimony. How do you know if it's a doubt? By all of them, it's always only a definite saving of a life, but not a doubtful saving a life. The Shmuel, Badai, Leslie Pircha. For Shmuel, take away the Badai. Leslie Pircha. There's no questions to that. Amar Ravina, Vitema Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Ravina says, and some say Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, Tavachada Pilpala Charifta, Mimalitzan Tikari. It's better to have one sharp pepper than a basket full of squash. That's an expression. one thing that's tasty than a whole basket of, today would say mashed potato. Okay, let's leave it over here. Yeah.